Hello, and welcome to another episode of Untraditionally Traditional, a podcast with me, Brittany Duncan, a millennial homemaker. Join me each week as I share all the things I've learned that make keeping your home, garden, and life running smoothly, all while working. If you are enjoying the podcast, please be sure to subscribe in your favorite podcasting app so you get the episodes downloaded straight to you every Monday. Now, on to today's episode. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Untraditionally Traditional, a millennial homemaker. This is your host, Brittany Duncan, and I hope that you had a great week and are geared up for a solid Monday and following days to get stuff done. This episode is going to be a little bit of tough love, but know that I'm right there with you, and this is the kind of pep talk and, messages that I tell myself in order to live the kind of life that I want to live, get the things done that I want to get done, and so on and so forth. At my gym, I go to F45 fitness classes, and on the televisions there, they have different bios for each of the coaches, and they share a quote. And I was reading one of the coaches the other day, and her quote was, "No grit, no pearl." And I really liked it. I was like, I like that. I've heard the saying like, choose your hard. You can, choose to do your laundry and that be the hard thing, or you can choose to leave your laundry and the hard thing is having no clothes, your husband, saying that he doesn't have clothes, your kid, whatever it is, realizing that you don't have any clean towels. That's also hard. So it's kind of pick your poison of what you want to deal with. Either you can put in the work and be on top of it, and that be the grit that then gives you the pearl of the reward of having things run smoothly in your home. Along that line, though, I think there is the misconception that all grit gives you pearls. So again, this kind of goes back to the whole choose your hard thing, but grit is like the stuff that like you don't love doing, but you do. But we can let in a lot of crap as well. So, for example, like taking in, I'm going to use the news because I am not a huge modern day news consumer. I like to stay informed. I have my different ways of doing that. But to be honest, I block a lot of it out because that is grit for me. That's the kind of stuff that like makes me anxious, takes my mental energy, but that is not going to give me a pearl. Okay. So I would rather put my mental energy into learning something or getting outside and actually like putting in the work to make my garden what I want it to be, or figuring out my whole laundry solution so that I am making my garments last longer. To me, that's the kind of grit that I want to be putting in. I don't want the grit to be drama. If you have friends or family members or people that just like suck your energy, co-workers, that's kind of one of those things that's a little bit harder because you can, choose how much of your family energy you let into your life. You can choose your friends. Your coworkers are a little bit different, but same with your family. You can choose how much of the mental energy you're going to give to that toxic coworker. But I don't like to let in drama or those types of form of grit, right? Like you can choose what you're letting in. So there's some like two parallels I was kind of thinking of with this. And there's the idea that like you can consume, you can be on Instagram and watching television and the news and reading tabloids and all of that, excuse me, please don't come at me, but like crap. You can take all that in, or you can create. So this is the verses, right? Consume versus create. And some of the consuming, you're like, okay, well, hold on, I'm learning, and that is different. So I'm going to say with that, your versus is you can look versus you can learn. So say on Instagram, you can see someone's beautiful raised garden beds. That's looking. Or you can learn. You can find an article or a video that maybe they put together about how they built those beds or why they set them up the way they did. Inexpensive irrigation solutions, all of those things. That's the difference that I'm talking about. Consuming and looking versus creating and learning. I choose to lean onto the latter. I don't want my grit to be jealousy or just like the influx of information thrown at us. That's like a big goal with my podcast and the website, blog posts I put together, and the content that I share on Instagram is I want it to be more of a platform for you to learn rather than just look, and to encourage creation rather than just consumerism. So know that that's where I try to come from. But here is a little bit of like the tough love is like at some point you just got to do the thing. And, I get it a lot. And I'm going to admit it, large grain of salt that Johnson and I don't have kids yet. And I know that once you have kids, your life changes a lot. So know that I am not directly talking to you if you have kids or whatever your family circumstances are. Everyone's life is different. So I say this not to be judgmental or authoritarian or any of that, but I do think there's a lot of woe is me, martyrdom that comes into the homemaking sphere where it's, oh, poor me, I have to do all of the laundry, or oh my gosh, I cooked this entire meal from scratch. My family should be so grateful. You put the label on it, it happens. And that is not a good energy for getting stuff done, the pearl, so to speak. Just put in the work. At some point, that's what it comes down to. And I hear people a lot of time like, oh, how do you do all the things that you do? Or, oh, I wish I had that time. Or wouldn't that be nice? And that gets my back up a little bit because it's not like I am just bathing in free time here. Again, like I said, if you've got kids, I know you have more time than me. But I work a full-time job. I run 2 side businesses. And I have a lot of physical activities that I do. I run this podcast, which takes a lot of time. So it's not a matter of having the time as much as it is just getting down to work and doing the things that you want to do in order to have the results that you want. If you want that pearl, get the grit, put in the work. And some of that is just like using the pockets of time wisely. I don't care who you are. You have more time than you tell yourself you have, myself included. How often do we pick up our phone, open up the Instagram or TikTok app, and start mindlessly scrolling? That is not a great use of time unless it is that like inspirational time, and that's your pearl, is getting inspired. And if you really curate your feed and are conscious about like who you follow, what you let into your sphere, that can be different. So again, I'm not like throwing the baby out with the bathwater. I get a lot of inspiration from social media myself. But it's, yeah, like I was saying earlier, it's just taking that inspiration and turning it into action. That's the important part that I think sometimes we miss. I love Pinterest. I think it's a great platform for inspiration, but I think a lot of times we all end up just pinning things and not actually ever doing anything with them. They sit on these inspiration boards and, oh my gosh, our house project or house inspiration decor board is beautiful, but are you taking any of that and putting it in your house, or are you just creating this vision of what you would like to have and then feeling kind of down about what your actual situation in your home is? Know that also the Pinterest images, we all know it's not real life. Those are styled images. Those kitchens are styled to be photographed, and I'm sure they are also beautiful in the real life, but there are days that those kitchens have dishes in the sink and crumbs on the counter and smudges on the stainless steel fridge. It's life. So it's really easy to get into that comparison game, but it's also easy to let ourselves get into the comparison game if we are looking at everybody else and all the things that we want to do, but never taking action to give them to ourselves. So this is a tough love episode for you. It's for me, just for us to get down to work and do the thing. A quote that I really like is procrastination is putting off what you really want for what you want right now. And it's like keeping that idea in focus of what you want. So right now we are in this period of time where it's starting to feel like spring. I'm cautiously allowing that into my heart because I know that there's going to be another cold snap, I'm sure. And we are not really at spring. It's only the end of February. But I'm at this phase where I know that spring is coming. I want my yard to look a certain way. I want my garden to be ready. I want to start from seed. And all of that is work. So I'm using the pockets of time in the evening to get things in order. Yes, I'm tired after work. Yes, I would so much rather just like sit on the sofa and watch a movie. And please, I'm not telling you not to do that. Sometimes that is what you need. And that's for you to figure out and do. But if you're complaining that things aren't the way that you want them to be in or outside of the home, at some point we got to flip our script, look in the mirror and say, am I participating in the fact that that is the situation? What could I be doing differently? Instead of watching a movie, ultimately, would I be happier if I went outside and put in an hour of work and, laid my compost in topsoil so that come spring, I'm ready to plant my seeds? What can I be doing right now so that I can get the pearl when I want it? So that's my message for today. I won't, go on and on about it, but just think what are the pearls of life that you want, whether it's indoor tasks, whether it's outdoor tasks, family goals, personal goals, work goals. Sit down and think like, what are those things? And then as always, break down that task. Like if you just tell yourself, I want a beautiful garden started from seed this year, and that's your goal, you need to break that down into several smaller goals. Okay, if I want to start from seed, that means one of my goals is to make a garden plan and figure out what seeds I need to order, how many, what is my seed budget. Another one of my goals is going to be to either start collecting or buy or dig out of storage the equipment that I need for seed starting, your trays and lights and humidity covers, all that stuff. Do I have my garden beds built? Do I need to build garden beds or buy garden beds? Okay, what's involved with that? That's a separate goal. What is my soil situation? Do I need to order soil and compost and get my soil tested if you're doing that? That's a separate goal. So you look at that main goal of, I want to have a beautiful garden started from seed. I just broke down 4, and I know there's a lot more than that, other goals that need to happen in order for that to be a reality. So look at those big pictures and start breaking down what you need to get done, and seeing if it's realistic and if that's still what you want. Or if maybe you adjust and you say, okay, I want a beautiful garden. I also value my time, and I know it's not realistic for me to be doing all this. I'm going to start my garden with starter plants and then figure out what nursery you want to get your starter plants from. That's a solution. But if we just have the goal of a beautiful garden and we don't actually think about any of the details that go into it, chances are we're going to be disappointed when spring comes and we realize it's way too late to start seeds. Oh, dang, we didn't go to the nursery in time and the seedlings that we want are sold out. Now what? And we're disappointed. So start early, plan your work your plan, don't procrastinate. And yeah, put in the work. The grit is not always a bad thing. Be conscientious about what kind of grit you're letting into your life and make sure that it's grit that is going to give you the pearl, that is going to help you to get to those goals that you want. Okay. Thank you, everybody. I will see you back here on Friday. I hope that you take this as motivational and not lecture, not a lecture or too much of a harsh love. I say it because these are the kind of conversations I have with myself to, get where I want to be. I'm a sucker for quotes, actually, and I have a bunch of these quotes on little sticky notes all over my desk. And so as I'm sitting here recording this, I keep like glancing over and reading them. And another one, and the last one that I will leave you with is: excuses make today easy, but tomorrow hard. Discipline makes today hard, but tomorrow easy. So know that the work you're putting in is not going to be lost. It's going to pay off in the long run. All right. Have an awesome week, everybody. Thank you for listening to this episode of Untraditionally Traditional. If you enjoyed the podcast, please share it with those special people who would love it too, and write a review. For more tips and photos of my home and garden, follow Untraditionally Traditional Pod on Instagram. Until next week, let's continue to make our homes places of joy and service to ourselves and those we share them with.